relationship skills to make their own choices. And even though you may be scared or you may be upset that they're leaving you or you're not too thrilled about the school, don't show that in front of them. Don't put your nerves and your anxiousness into them because they're nervous enough.
Yeah.
So whatever you are feeling or what your viewpoint is, that's going to be theirs. And if you tell them they're going to have an awful time, they're going to have an awful time. So just, stay positive, try to make it a great experience for them.
Gotcha. So if you don't care, let's kind of go back a little bit. So whenever we're talking about having the kids know their names, I mean, do you recommend putting that on I in my mind I'm thinking if I were to go get some little flashcards and write her name on one and write 7 or 8 other names, have her go through and pick out her name every time, would that be something that would probably be beneficial for her to do?
Oh yeah, anything with their name on it. Even if you're at a toddler stage, a name puzzle that you can get made, those are really good.
Oh yeah, those are cool. Yes.
Or even making your own and just cutting apart an index card that has all the letters.
Yeah.
And then you have one where they can see their name together and they have to match it in the right order. They can trace it with sand, trace it with chalk, spell it with magnets on the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Just anything to start getting those letters in their brain.
Gotcha. Okay. Very cool. All right. So you mentioned the whole thing about the open house. So can you kind of walk us through what that looks like?
Yes. So if you do nothing else at your school, go to the open house if they have it, or to a room meeting. So my district does an open house, and all that means is you and your child and your family get to go into the school. And when I say family, I've had aunts, uncles, cousins, a babysitter, grandma, next door neighbor, whoever's going to be involved, they come. And it's really neat because these are the people I'm going to be talking with. So you get to go in, walk around the school, find out where your classroom is, meet your teacher, see where their cubby is, their desk, walk around the room. It gives them a chance to really explore a new environment with someone they trust, someone that just helps them. And you could also pick up any information about registration. If you get there and you don't see your child's name anywhere, you have a chance to go to the office and get it fixed before the first day of school, try to do it over the phone or with 700 other parents that are there to do that.
For sure.
And you can just get paperwork that you can then send back. And then usually they also have a room meeting or a parent night. Okay. And this is my favorite. This is my favorite thing as a teacher because it's usually for parents only. I know that's not always possible, but if you have a babysitter or someone who can watch your kid, and you come and the teacher just tells you about everything from how you're going to communicate with them to if your child has a birthday at school or lunchtime, how to pick them up in the car ride or line. It just covers so much. And it's a great time to ask those 100 questions that you have that you don't know who to ask.
For sure.
And it really helps you also. If you have a kid that, one year I had a parent who came in, excuse me, and she looked like she was going to cry on open house. And, I was like, we're just meeting each other. You don't have to leave them. And she goes, my child has severe seizures. And she said, and I'm absolutely terrified because I'm not going to be here.
Yeah.
And so, but I knew that 4 days before school started. So I had a chance to sit down with her and the dad and our nurse and our principal and our office worker. And she got to tell me in detail what to expect, what I need to do. And even though all year he had, seizures throughout the year, every time she came to pick him up, she just stopped and thanked me because, I'm holding him in my lap. He's fine. We had a plan. Everything was in place. So if there's something like that, or, your child's allergic to peanuts, this is a good time to tell your teacher and ask what's in place to help protect my child.
Yeah. Well, and a couple of things I just want to touch on too with what you just said. Number one, a lot of times, especially whenever we have parents who've got multiple kids, and let's just say that this is maybe your 4th kid, and they're going back to school, it's still super important for you to attend something like this because just because you may not know the teacher that this person or that that this child has, one of the things, especially in education, one of the things that I think that almost every teacher would tell you is is having open lines of communication is so important, because like we don't want to just call you whenever we have something that goes wrong or something like that, that's negative at school. We want to be able to call you, and we want to have that conversation with you and like let you know and celebrate the wonderful things that your kids are doing, because we're going to be working with those kids just as much as the parents are, and then sometimes throughout the week it might be even more than the parents are. And we want to make sure that we're communicating through there. So definitely go to one of those open houses if those are there. And then also the whole situation that she was talking about with the seizures, like that is super important for us to know, because teachers are like superheroes in my opinion. Like you and I, we differ on which superhero is the best. You think it's Batman, I think it's Superman, whatever. But we all know that it's probably the person who's in room like 608, because they're like the baseball
Right.
coach, and they're also the one who knows all the different types of things. Like, we got the nurses at the school. I mean, that's like the Thanos. Nobody can beat the nurse at the school. But it's like these teachers are prepared for stuff that that I honestly didn't even realize that teachers were prepared for until I was in this role. And, it's super impressive to know that like, those people that are there with your kids, a lot of times it is scary for parents to leave their kids at schools just because of the world that we live in. But at the same time, like those teachers would go to the ends of the earth to help any of those kids whenever they're in need. And letting your teacher know if there is something like a seizure or any kind of medical things that we need to know about, like that's super important to let those teachers know on the very first day of school.
Yes, absolutely.
So, let's see. Is there a question that you would that you think that that you should not ask to your kindergarten teacher?
Okay, so the general rule is there are no dumb questions.
Yeah.
And especially kindergarten and pre-K teachers, I think they are probably the best at answering questions, because it's the first time they've been in school.
Yeah.
So really, there are no dumb questions. I think it's more to be mindful of when you're asking the questions. A lot of parents, I know you're busy, like you're rushing to get your kid to school and to pick them up and to go to your job. But I'm doing the same thing. So be mindful of like when you're dropping them off in the morning, that's probably not the best time for a conference.
Yeah, for sure.
If there are kids in my room, they're my priority. I need to be attentive to them. And I don't want to talk about your kid in front of the rest of the class either.
Well,
and then yeah, exactly. Even if it's, normally good stuff,
Yeah.
you're really not supposed to share that information. And the same thing for the car rider line. I know you're going to see me, and some days I might stop and say, oh, he had a great day, or today was just awesome, or he was really tired today. But the majority of the time, they're going to start honking the horns at us if we're having to have a 15-minute conference. So even if it's just to say, hey, I'm going to send you a message when you have a minute, or can we set up a phone call? And I'll be like, absolutely, I'll get to you later with that. So just being mindful of when you ask, not necessarily what you ask.
Very good. Yeah, very good. Well, and that's the thing too. Like, I mean, as teachers, we want to be able to have those open lines of communication, but maybe, in the car rider line, whenever there's 40 cars behind you, maybe that's not the best time to sit down and have a parent-teacher conference. But,
Right.
but yeah. So, okay.